keeping up with our motto, let learning be a joy and teaching a pleasure. Here we are with a remote teaching and learning process to bridge the gap. Happy learning, students.
Welcome students of Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College. Students, we are with the chapter 10th Magnetic Field due to the electric current part 2. In this part, we are going to study the topics related to the torque on a current loop, a current loop in a magnetic field where you will be learning about the principle of a motor. Then we'll move on to moving coil galvanometer, magnetic dipole moment, magnetic potential energy of a dipole, the current in a straight long wire, and the forces of attraction between the two long parallel wires. With this, we end up the part 2 topic, which will be dealing or which will be clearly stating you the different types of the laws which are applied and what are the appliances in which this principle actually works. You have learnt about the electric motor in standard 10. An electric motor works on the principle you have studied in the preceding sections, that is the magnetic force on a current carrying wire due to a magnetic field. This figure 10.10 actually shows you a current carrying a loop ABCD in a uniform magnetic field. There will be, therefore, the magnetic forces Fm acting in the opposite directions on the segments of the loop AB and CD, which you could see very clearly in the diagram. And this results in the rotation of the loop about its central axis. Let us go on to the details of the contact carbon brushes, an external circuit which we visualize while seeing the rotation action of a motor. Let me explain you how does the motor actually rotates. The current carrying wire loop is of rectangular shape and is placed in the uniform magnetic field AB and CD of the loop, which are perpendicular to the loops. The electric motor works on the principle of magnetic force acting on a current carrying wire due to the magnetic field. The magnetic forces Fm is acting in the opposite directions on the segments of the loop AB and CD, which results in the motion of the rotation. This is how actually any motor works. I continue with the same topic, that is the torque on a current loop. Now this diagram is showing you the right hand rule, where you could see that the three fingers are pointing out in the different directions. The below diagram, that is 10.12, is showing you actually a loop ABCD placed in a uniform magnetic field emerging out of the paper. The electric connections are not shown out here. Let us go through the description of these both the topics. Firstly, I begin on with the right hand rule. Let the pointing finger of the right hand show the direction of the current. The middle finger shows the direction of the magnetic field denoted by capital B. Then the stretched thumb shows you the direction of the force. Let us move on to the second figure, that is figure 10.12, which is showing you the loop ABCD is placed in a uniform magnetic field B such that the sides AB and CD are perpendicular to the magnetic field capital B, but the sides BC and DA are not placed in it. We move further to the third part of this topic, which shows you the side view of the loop ABCD on an angle theta. The last part of the talk on a current loop indicates us the diagram, which is showing you the side view of the loop ABCD at an angle theta, as I mentioned before. We can calculate the net force and the net torque on the loop in such a situation, which is depicted in the figure 10.12, which you could see very clearly. Here, the rotation is shown in the direction where you have the angles theta and the another angle is given as 90 minus theta. Let me begin on how we go on for the calculation of the net force and the net torque on the loop in such a situation. Obtain the forces on all sides of the loop first. The force F4 on the side BC will be given by F4 is equal to, which is I L2 B sine 90 minus theta. The magnitude of the forces, that is F1 and F3, will be I L1 B sine theta. The torque results into the rotation of the loop so that the loop is perpendicular to the direction of the magnetic field, that is capital B. The moment the arm is half of the L2 sine theta, the central axis of the loop rotates. The torque tau due to the forces F1 and F2 will be then written with the formula tau is equal to I L1 L2 B sine theta. This is denoted on the textbook page number 237, which I have referred over here. If the current carrying loop is made up of the multiple turns N in the form of a flat coil, the total torque will be given by capital A is equal to L1 and L2, where the area is the capital A enclosed by the coil. So the above equation holds good for all the planar coils irrespective of their shape in a uniform magnetic field. Students, let's go through another topic, which is moving coil galvanometer. A current in a circuit or a voltage of a battery can be measured in terms of a torque extended by a magnetic field on a current carrying coil. Analog voltmeters and ammeters work on this principle. The figure 10.13 shows a cross-sectional diagram of a galvanometer. Let me talk about the construction of this moving coil galvanometer. It consists of a coil of several turns mounted in such a way that it can freely rotate about a fixed axis. A soft iron cylindrical core makes the field radial and strong. The coil rotates due to a torque acting on it as the current flows through it. This torque is given by the formula, which is equal to capital N multiplied by capital I multiplied by capital A into B, where A is the area of the coil and B is the strength of the magnetic field. Capital N indicates the number of the turns of the coil and I indicates the current in the coil. If I try to put down the angle sine theta is 1, it is the radial plane of the coil which is always parallel to the field. If the deflection is theta, the restoring torque due to the spring is equal to the torsional constant of the spring. Therefore, k theta is equal to N multiplied by I multiplied by AB, and the deflection could be given as your theta is equal to NAB divided by K multiplied by A. Thus the deflection is directly proportional to the current. In short, we could say that the modern instruments use digital ammeters and voltmeters do not use such a moving coil galvanometer. The next topic is magnetic dipole moment. In the preceding section, we have dealt with a current carrying coil. This current carrying coil can be described with a vector mu, its magnetic dipole moment. If small n is a unit vector normal to the plane of the coil, the direction of mu is the direction of the n shown in the figure 10.12. So let us begin on. We can define the magnitude of mu is equal to N multiplied by I multiplied by A. If this is held in a uniform magnetic field B, the torque responsible for the rotation of the coil, that is tau, is equal to mu B sine theta, where tau is equal to mu multiplied by V, and the torque acting on the electric dipole exerted by an electric field capital E is given as tau is equal to capital P multiplied by E, where capital P represents the electric dipole moment. Let us now consider the two cases which are mentioned out in the figure 10.14 here. These are the two arrows showing in the same direction, whereas the B diagram shows you the two arrows in opposite direction to each other. The first case, where the theta is equal to 0, your U is given by minus mu B cos theta. It is the minimum potential energy where they are parallel to each other. Whereas the case 2 indicates that if theta is 180, your mu is equal to minus mu B cos theta 180, which is equal to mu b. This is the maximum potential energy of a magnetic dipole in a magnetic field, that is when they are anti-parallel to each other. Magnetic field due to a current is indicated or explained clearly by a law which is Biot-Savart's law. We have seen that the magnetic field is produced by a current carrying wire. We can calculate this magnetic field. Students, when you see the diagram, this is a current carrying wire which is in an arbitrary shape carrying a current capital I. The current is in the differential length element dl, which produces the differential magnetic field dB at a point capital P, which is at a distance small r from the small element dl, which you can see clearly in the diagram. The cross mark indicates that the dB is directed into the plane of the paper. When I explain you this, dl is a length element along the wire. The current in this element is in the direction of the length vector dl. Let us calculate the differential field dB at the point P produced by the current I through the length of the element dl. This can be done by integrating or summing up of the magnetic fields dB. From this, we can make it out that the elements could be written as dB is equal to mu divided by 4 pi multiplied by ideal sine theta divided by r square, where theta is the angle between the directions of dl, and r multiplied by mu naught is called as the permeability constant given by a value which is a fixed value 1.26 into 10 raised to minus 6 Tesla meters per ampere. This is the inverse square law which is experimentally deduced. It may be noted that it is still inverse square law as r appears in the numerator and r cube in the denominator. Students, using the Biot-Savart's law, we can calculate the magnetic field produced by the various distributions of the currents. The first distribution that I am going to explain is the current in a straight long wire. Let us consider a current length element dl of the wire situated at a distance r from the point P. This is very clearly seen in the diagram 10.16, which is showing you the placing of the point P at a particular angle which is denoted by theta. The magnetic field produced at a point P by a current is in the lower half of the wire. The direction of the field is also same as from the upper half of the wire. Therefore, we can say that capital B is equal to 2 multiplied by the integral of dB, which is equivalent to 2 mu multiplied by ideal sine theta divided by r square, where your mu is again in the denominator form of 4 pi. But when I state this, my small r is equal to the square root of L square plus r square. Refer to the derivation which is given on the page of your textbook, that is 240, which clearly states that the magnetic field at a point P at a perpendicular distance r from the infinitely straight wire is given by the formula capital B is equal to mu multiplied by I upon 2 pi multiplied by r multiplied by 1 upon r square, which in turn could be stated as capital B is equal to mu naught multiplied by the current I divided by 4 pi r. Thus, the direction of the dB is given by the cross product of dl into r, which could be seen very clearly in the figure. This completes our topic for the current in a straight long wire. The last topic for your part 2 of the magnetic field due to the electric current is the forces of attraction between the two long parallel wires. As an application of the result obtained in the last section, let us try to find out the force of attraction between the two long parallel wires separated by a distance small d. Let the currents in the two wires be I1 and I2, as you could see in the figure 10.17. It is indicated by a formula that magnetic field is mu naught I1 divided by 2 pi d. Now apply a law which is called as Lorentz law. The force on the wire 2 because of the current, that is I2, and the current could be given by the formula, that is force is equal to I2 multiplied by mu naught I1 divided by 2 pi d, again multiplied by an integral of dl. If the currents are anti-parallel, students, the force will be repulsive. This is very clearly stated when you refer the textbook page number 241. The magnitude of the repulsive force per unit length of the wire is given by the formula, that is your capital F divided by L. This is the force of attraction per unit length, which is given by the formula, that is mu naught 1 L1 multiplied by L2 divided by 2 pi d. Thus, we can summarize that parallel currents are attractive in nature, whereas the anti-parallel currents repel each other. Well, students, we move on to the summing up of the topic in your part 2. We go to the assignment section where you go through the link of the reference e-textbook as mentioned out here. We go through the questions which are: first, state the right hand rule. Second, explain the working of a moving coil galvanometer. Third, state the Biot-Savitz's law. Fourth, write down the conditions for the magnetic dipole moment potential energy. Fifth, derive an expression for the force of attraction between the two long parallel lines. Student, go through the topics thoroughly, explain everything with the help of a neat label diagram and maintain your notes. Thank you.